New week of business. My name is Blyden Lukem on Spectrum TV. In today's Business 360, we'll look at details in the world of business, meetings here and there, and different opportunities from a stock market point of view. We'll also get to look at opportunities from the forex market. The dollar is becoming quite strong, according to this morning market. We'll get to x-ray the fine details in terms of data analysis. In the US, the spotlight will be taken by earnings reports, including Bank of America, IBM, Amex, J&J and P&G, and Netflix. Everywhere, investors will be closely watching consumer price index figures for the UK, Japan, the US, UK, Australia, France, Germany, and Euro area. In China, China will publish gross domestic product growth, the GDP growth, retail sales and industrial production figures, and Germany's Zoo Economic Sentiment Index. In Africa, GDP are expected to be high and out, depending on which. Polish farmers have been protesting against the flood of Ukrainian grains, which they say has depressed prices on the local market. The European Commission has rejected bans introduced by Poland and Hungary on Ukrainian grains imports. The two countries said the measures were necessary to protect their farming sectors from cheap until the end of June. Meanwhile, the European Commission said it was not up to individual member states to make trade policies. Such is the debacle around that. Poland and Hungary are saying we don't want cheap commodities, cheap agricultural products and wheats. But the Eurozone, it's saying that Ukraine ought to give that wheat out. But let's come to Africa, like Taifa 1. The satellite launch on a SpaceX US rocket from the US was built with assistance from the Bulgarian aerospace firm Endurostat. More than 50 African satellites have been launched into orbit as of 2022. Still in Kenya. Kenya's economy is projected. Kenya and Ethiopia is crucial in easing growth, growing youth unemployment in Africa, and foreign direct investment FDI attraction is critical. Nigeria remains the largest economy in Africa, followed by South Africa, Ethiopia, which is expected to overtake Angola and Kenya to become the third largest economy in sub-Saharan Africa. 214.2 billion naira in 2022, representing 3.3% deep from 221.5 billion. We'll go on a short break. When we return, we'll talk about other details in the world of business. Welcome back. It's Business 360 and my name is Blyden Ukem. On the talking point, Guarantee Trust Holding Company PLC has said it recorded profit before tax of 214.2 billion naira in 2022, representing 3.3% dip from 221.5 billion recorded in the corresponding year, ended December 2021, for taxation, when these banks are also making a lot of money. The Nigerian government has collected a total of 155.58 billion naira in income tax payments from 10 banks operating in the country. The tax payments were captured in the bank's financial statement ending December 31st, 2022 and submitted to the Nigerian Exchange. Details they paid in income tax during the previous fiscal year. The banks that made the list are Zenith Bank PLC, Guarantee Trust Holdings Company PLC, United Bank for Africa UBA PLC, Stanbic IBTC Holdings, First City Monument Bank, Fidelity Bank PLCs, Sterling Bank PLC, Wema Bank PLC, Unity Bank, as well as Jazz Bank PLC. And let's look at the state of things regarding Guarantee Trust Bank. Guarantee Trust Bank, GT Bank, was fined 128.6 million naira by the Central Bank of Nigeria CBN for failing to meet several regulatory requirements. According to reports, the fine was for offences relating to failure in the anti-money laundering AML and combating the financing of terrorism CFT examination, as well as others. According to asset examination, the bank led by Miriam Olosanya also received a fine of 21.25 million naira for failing the 2021 anti-money laundering AML and combating the financing of terrorism CFT examination. And it's quite concerning from GT Bank's perspective. Still in Nigeria, no fewer than 168,768 workers have changed their pension fund administrators PFA and moved 663.761 billion naira retirement savings accounts since the National Pension Commission opened the window of transfer, according to reports. The window of transfer allowed of retirement savings account transferred by pension fund administrators from the fourth quarter of 2020 to the first quarter of 2023. According to PENCOM, 24,963 workers moved 111.67 billion naira in the first quarter of 2023. It would be a good time to move to global economy to see calendar. The calendar this morning has shown some inclination positively or negatively for some of the countries in the world, beginning with Singapore. The non-oil exports year on year had nosedived previously to 15.8%, but it's been revised to 8.3% as $6 billion. Previously stood at $6.687 billion, quite revised. In India, imports in India stood at a negative 6.26% year on year for March. US retail sales fell more than expected. Retail sales in the US sank 1% month over month in March, following a 0.2% fall in February, and were above consensus of a 0.4% drop, in a sign that the cost pressures and rising interest rates are weighing on consumers' willingness to spend, and electronics as well as appliances. Let's move to New Zealand. New Zealand's food inflation accelerates to new highs since 1989. Food prices in New Zealand rose 12.1% year on year in March 2023, the biggest increase since September of 1980, advanced 7.8%. Grocery food prices climbed 13.7%, non-alcoholic beverage prices increased 8.2%, and restaurant meals and ready-to-eat food prices rose 8.7%. Compared to the previous month, food prices went up 0.8% in New Zealand. It would be a good time to look at the charts indicating New Zealand's food inflation. Inflation in New Zealand across board from year on year had indicated that as at April 2022, food inflation in particular went to 6.4%. Food inflation reflects increase in the cost of commodities, agricultural commodities and food at 1%, indicating continuous increase. It slowed down a bit to 10.3% in January 2023, and by February and March it had gone up to 12 and 12.1%. A good time to year high, rather over 1 year low of 9.1% in the previous month. Upward pressures came mostly from prices of food and non-alcoholic beverages in February, transportation and miscellaneous goods and services. Prices also continued to rise significantly for furniture and household equipment, restaurants and hotels, clothing and footwear in February. On a monthly basis, consumer prices surged by 1% in March, the most in 8 months, after a 0.1% data analysts. Inflation in Botswana was at 9.6% in April 2022, went further upward to 14.3%. In the year 2022, it peaked at 14.6% before a slight and slow decline and a steady decline, a record low since 2022, before ticking upward again in March to 9.1%. On one hand, indicating a slowdown in the difficulties amid the prices of commodities and the weakness of the currency, but on the other hand, an improvement in the economy over time. It would be a good time to look at the commodities market per barrel today. After gaining more than 2% last week, as the International Energy Agency warned that a surprise production cut by OPEC Plus will tighten the market more than expected and drive oil prices higher. The IEA also projected in its April oil market report released Friday that world oil demand would climb by 2 million barrels per day in 2023 to a record 101.9 million barrels per day. Elsewhere, market continues to fret about shrinking crude inventories at a key U.S. storage hub, interrupted flows from Iraqi Kurdistan, and signs of slowing Russian oil exports. Let's move straight to the market and see what the crude oil, U.S. crude, which is WTI crude oil, current price at $82.22 US per barrel, slight downward this morning, at 0.3 market is moving quite fast, a negative 0.67% decline. Let's have a look at the metal markets and what the metals are saying, the price of gold, silver, and the rest, copper. Well, the metal market this morning has shown a projection of gold moving higher away from the 2,000 mark, slightly upward this morning, copper slightly downward, steel downward by 13 points, iron ore, no significant difference in the market. Let's have a look at the agricultural market. Amid the concerns regarding wheat from Ukraine and $4 per bushel, upward by 3.5 points, a 0.23% appreciation, while wheat is slightly upward this morning, $682 per bushel. Lumber upward slightly. For palm oil, it's downward by 58 points. It would make sense to look at other markets and the intensities in the market while we're looking further beyond what the Chinese demand is talking about. Let's get to the next stage and see what will happen in the market. Talking about the foreign exchange market, and a downward projection will make a lot of sense from what we have to see. The foreign exchange market. The US dollar index, or what many would call the DXY, moves as the American economy's resilience and strong earnings from major US banks boosted market expectations for another interest rate hike in May. US retail sales fell more than expected in March, as we talked about, but core retail sell the impact of the Nigerian naira in the market. The majors in this market has shown some decline for the other majors against the US dollar, as the index level of the US dollar has gone to a high of 102. Euro is slightly dropping against the US dollar this morning, a 0.25% decline for the euro. For pounds is a similar story, a 0.27% decline after hitting 1.24. The US dollar has moved slightly upward, a 0.07 points increase against the naira. Current price 460 naira equaling $1. For the euro against the naira, it's 575 naira equaling £1. Let's also look at the parallel output of this market in terms of the black market and the indices in the black market against the naira and the majors. The market price and indices has shown some positivity for the naira. Current price 28 naira equaling £1. At the buying rate at 914 naira, equaling £1 at the selling rate on the average in the black market. The euro, 2 naira, 808 naira to 1 euro for buying rate, and selling rate 793 naira to 1 euro in the black market. It would make sense to also look at a cryptocurrency market, what the indices are this morning for the digital currency. After talking a lot about this morning, it's dropped by 447 points, a negative 1.45% decline for Bitcoin. Ether also seeing slight downward momentum, 25-point drop, a negative 1.21% decline. Current price for Bitcoin is $29,923 per one Bitcoin, and Ether $2,097 for one Ether. There's a slight squeeze in the stock market and the outlook with it, the global stocks. Afterwards, we'll x-ray the importance in the African market, beginning with the Asian market. Asian stocks were mixed today. Asian equity market were mixed in cautious trade today as investors continue to assess the outlook for inflation, its growth, and interest rates globally. Markets also geared up for more earnings to be released on Tuesday. Shares in Australia and mainland China advance, while South Korean and Hong Kong stocks decline. Meanwhile, Japanese shares fluctuate between gains and losses. We'll get to what the outcomes would be. This is where we draw the curtain on today's edition of Business 360. Thank you for watching. My name is Blyden Ukem.